for a look at the latest on crypto. I want to welcome in Gerry O'Shea, Global Head of Market Insights Hashdex. Gerry, thank you so much for joining us this morning. All right, so Bitcoin's pulled back from that all-time high that we saw earlier this week, below 118,000. You had the wind at the back of Bitcoin, others in the other cryptocurrencies this week, with a lot of legislation making its way through lawmakers, them dubbing it Crypto Week. Let's talk about the Genius Act and its significance. How significant is it for the industry?
Look, I think the Genius Act is the most important piece of legislation that this industry has had in its history, and it's going to encourage broader adoption of this asset class. I think, in addition to just helping to modernize our global payment system, it's going to set up clear rules, not only for the issuers, but allow users of these technologies to have a better sense and more comfort in using them as we go forward. And I also think it's going to just help on-ramp millions more of people to Bitcoin and the digital asset ecosystem more broadly as well. And I think the one thing that's important to keep in mind here too is that the growth potential with stablecoins is absolutely tremendous. Even Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent has said, I think last month it was, that he suggested that the industry could grow from $250 billion market cap right now to $3.7 trillion market cap. So that's significant growth. That's a lot of potential here. And ultimately, the underlying networks that provide the infrastructure for stablecoins are going to benefit.
Okay, so, Crypto Week was obviously expected to be a big turning point as it relates to regulation and just widening adoption within and beyond the industry. But there's been some hiccups and some more political arguments than you would have expected. There's just the chaos on Capitol Hill is telling a different story. Why do you think that is, the political infighting that's happening around crypto?
Yeah, well, I think it's not surprising to see sort of this back and forth with it. It's a very prominent industry right now. It's been politicized. I think ultimately crypto is an apolitical asset, so that will change over time. But this is part of kind of the sausage making of legislation, right? There's different constituencies with different interests. But ultimately, I think as we've seen, and really the fact that we have something even called a Crypto Week in Congress, you had members of Congress that were meeting with the president on this in his office a few days ago, really gives you a sense of the high priority this is for Congress. And it is really on a bipartisan basis. Certainly, there's some partisan politics that have entered into all of this. But I think ultimately this is a apolitical technology that's going to grow over time, regardless of who's in political power. And I think many members of Congress on a bipartisan basis are recognizing that.
I do think it's apolitical as well. I'd agree with your characterization there, but something happened yesterday. You had opposition from some conservative lawmakers who held up legislation. I was surprised by that because, to your point, yes, there has been bipartisan support, but there did seem for a period of time there was more support on the GOP's side. So I was surprised by that. When you think about stablecoins, and you mentioned, that their central theme in the Genius Act, the Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent forecasting the stablecoin market cap will rise to $3.7 trillion in 5 years. So from your point of view, what does need to happen from both a policy and infrastructure standpoint to get there?
Well, this legislation is going to give traditional financial institutions, payment providers, banks, and others a lot more comfort in investing in making the capital investments in this space. So I think we're really going to see an acceleration of traditional financial institutions into this space. We've seen some of that already, some of the big banks talking about working together on stablecoins, large asset managers as well. And that's just going to continue to accelerate, I think, as the U.S. takes a leadership role in all of this. And, the $250 billion market cap right now has really been a use case of folks outside of the U.S. that want access to the digital dollar. And now that the U.S. is embracing this technology, I really think we're going to see an acceleration of the growth of stablecoins in the coming months and years.
Okay, well, it's certainly something that has been getting increasing attention, increasing interest. We'll continue to watch Crypto Week and what happens there this week. Thank you, Gerry. That's Gerry O'Shea, Global Head of Market Insights Hashdex.